What if one of the world's most remote islands suddenly became the center of global attention? Greenland, a massive Arctic territory, has been quietly managing its affairs under Denmark. Yet now, according to publicly available reports, the United States is making statements that have caught Europe's attention. Today, we're exploring why leaders are calling this a decisive moment and what it could mean for international relations, based entirely on verified sources. According to Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, Greenland is at the center of a diplomatic discussion with the United States. She describes the current period as a decisive moment in determining the future of the territory. Public statements emphasize that Denmark is ready to uphold its values and international law while engaging in talks with U.S. officials. Recent statements from U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly suggested that Greenland is of strategic importance. He emphasized that Washington may consider various options regarding the territory. These remarks have sparked formal discussions between Danish and U.S. officials, highlighting Greenland's growing geopolitical significance. Leaders in Sweden, Germany, and other European nations have publicly supported Denmark. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson described the U.S. rhetoric as concerning, affirming that the Nordic and Baltic states stand together with Denmark. Germany reiterated its support and emphasized the importance of Arctic security as part of NATO's common interest. The Arctic region, including Greenland, is increasingly strategic due to global environmental and economic changes. Reports indicate Russian and Chinese vessels have been more active in northern waters, near Russia, Alaska, and Canada. NATO discussions are ongoing regarding Greenland's status, yet publicly available sources indicate no immediate threat to NATO territories. You might be wondering, why is Greenland suddenly such a focal point for international strategy? The answer involves rare earth minerals, strategic Arctic routes, and shifting geopolitical dynamics. And while discussions continue, Greenland's population and local leaders have expressed a strong preference to maintain self-determination. Greenland has been self-governing since 2009, following decades of increasing autonomy from Denmark. Polls indicate that the majority of Greenland's population prefers to remain in control of their own affairs and strongly opposes any foreign takeover. Local leaders have emphasized that the people of Greenland must decide their own future. The Arctic is rapidly gaining importance due to melting ice and new navigable routes. According to publicly available information, Greenland sits near key Arctic passages and possesses mineral-rich areas, including rare earth elements essential for modern technology. These factors explain why multiple countries, including the US, Russia, and China, closely monitor developments in the region. NATO's Supreme Allied Commander General Alexis Grinkewich has stated that, while there is no immediate threat to NATO territory, the Arctic's strategic significance is increasing. He clarified that discussions about Greenland are ongoing in the North Atlantic Council, emphasizing that the European nations have acted quickly to align their stance. A letter from leaders of France, Britain, Germany, and Italy stated that decisions about Greenland's future should remain with Denmark and Greenland. Public statements reinforce a commitment to international norms, signaling unified European support without escalating tensions unnecessarily. According to sources, the U.S. administration views Greenland as strategically vital, particularly regarding potential Russian and Chinese activity. While reports suggest Trump has explored multiple options, officials publicly emphasize diplomatic and cooperative solutions. No formal military action has been initiated, and discussions with Danish and European counterparts continue. You might wonder, could Greenland ever shift its relationship with Denmark or enter closer ties with another country? Current evidence shows strong local preference for self-determination, but the island's resources and location make it a constant subject of international attention. German Foreign Minister Johan Wadephal and Icelandic Foreign Minister Þorgerður Katrín Gunnarsdóttir have publicly discussed the strategic challenges of the far north. They highlight that cooperation among NATO allies, rather than unilateral action, is the preferred method for addressing Arctic security issues. Greenland's extreme environment naturally limits industrial activity. Rare earth mining and infrastructure development are challenging, requiring careful planning. Reports suggest international discussions consider environmental protection alongside strategic and economic interests, underscoring the complex nature of Arctic governance. And here's something intriguing. The Arctic could see more joint patrols or coordinated research initiatives in the future. How Greenland navigates these international pressures may set a precedent for other Arctic territories. Greenland is at the intersection of geography, strategy, and diplomacy. While global attention focuses on statements and policies, the key factor remains the island's population and their right to determine their own path. Greenland's future will likely involve ongoing discussions among Denmark, Greenlandic authorities, NATO members, and the United States. The next updates will reveal how nations balance strategic interests, international law, and the voices of local populations. To fully understand why this seemingly remote island has captured global attention, it is important to consider the Arctic's strategic resources, the evolution of international alliances, and the ongoing commitment to lawful and diplomatic solutions. Greenland remains a test case for modern Arctic governance, and the decisions made here could influence international policy for years to come. Beyond the immediate diplomatic exchanges, Greenland's situation opens a window into broader Arctic strategy. Analysts point out that as ice recedes due to climate change, previously inaccessible shipping lanes are becoming viable. This could transform international trade routes and logistical planning, making Greenland a central point for monitoring Arctic traffic. Coordinated international efforts are already being discussed to ensure that these developments benefit multiple nations while remaining safe and regulated. The economic dimension also deserves attention. Greenland's mineral wealth, including rare earth elements, is critical for modern technologies, from renewable energy systems to electronics. Countries worldwide are observing how Greenland manages these resources, balancing local governance, environmental sustainability, and global demand. In this context, any international involvement must respect local decision-making and environmental regulations. Meanwhile, military and security analysts are emphasizing the importance of collaboration rather than unilateral action. NATO exercises and joint patrols are increasingly focused on developing shared protocols for Arctic security. These initiatives aim to prevent misunderstandings and ensure that countries can operate safely in a region that is simultaneously remote, resource-rich, and strategically sensitive. On a cultural and societal level, Greenland is leveraging this international spotlight to reinforce the voice of its people. Local governments and leaders are engaging in public diplomacy, highlighting their commitment to self-determination and environmental stewardship. Educational programs, scientific research projects, and international collaborations are being showcased as part of Greenland's efforts to actively shape its future while participating responsibly in global affairs. Looking ahead, experts suggest that Greenland could become a model for how small, autonomous territories interact with major powers in the 21st century. The balance between strategic importance, environmental responsibility, and local governance may serve as a blueprint for other regions facing similar challenges. Observers are paying close attention to how Denmark, Greenlandic authorities, and international allies navigate this evolving landscape. Furthermore, scientific exploration in Greenland continues to draw international interest. Research into climate patterns, Arctic ecosystems, and glacial changes not only informs environmental policy but also provides data critical for understanding global climate dynamics. Collaborative scientific missions between Greenland, European nations, and North America demonstrate how international engagement can be constructive without compromising sovereignty. Finally, the Greenland case highlights a subtle yet growing aspect of international relations: the importance of dialogue, legal frameworks, and consensus building. While headlines may focus on statements or perceived threats, the long-term outcome will likely be determined by careful negotiation, respect for international law, and recognition of the local population's priorities. For Greenland, being a strategic focal point does not translate to losing control over its own future. Rather, it emphasizes the need for diplomacy, preparation, and active participation on the global stage. In addition to strategic and environmental considerations, Greenland's situation provides a lens into emerging technological and geopolitical trends. As nations explore Arctic opportunities, satellite and remote sensing technologies are increasingly critical. These tools allow countries to monitor shipping routes, weather patterns, and ice coverage in real time, enabling more informed decisions about resource management and security. Greenland, with its vast territory and sparse population, becomes an ideal location for testing and deploying such technology in collaboration with international partners. Economic analysts also note that Greenland's rare earth deposits could influence the global supply chain for high-tech industries. By managing these resources carefully, Greenland could attract responsible investment while avoiding environmental degradation. Observers suggest that partnerships involving sustainable mining practices, renewable energy development, and local workforce participation may set an example for balancing economic development with ecological protection. Culturally, Greenland is asserting itself as a hub for Arctic research and policy innovation. Educational initiatives are connecting local universities with international programs, enabling Greenlandic students and researchers to engage with global scientific networks. This exchange not only enhances local expertise but also ensures that Greenland's perspective is included in discussions that often dominate from capitals far from the Arctic. From a geopolitical standpoint, the dialogue around Greenland illustrates the evolving nature of international law in polar regions. Agreements such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, provide frameworks for resource claims and maritime boundaries, but emerging climate-related changes require continuous reinterpretation and adaptation. Greenland's leaders and allied nations are actively engaging in these discussions, ensuring that any future development is legally sound and internationally recognized. Meanwhile, security experts emphasize that Greenland is not only a point of resource interest but also a location with potential strategic value for communications, weather monitoring, and early warning systems. Collaborative efforts between NATO allies, local authorities, and scientific institutions aim to leverage these capabilities in ways that benefit multiple nations while respecting Greenland's autonomy. This multi-layered approach shows that strategy, science, and diplomacy can coexist without escalating tensions. Looking further into the future, Greenland could play a pivotal role in shaping Arctic governance standards. Policies developed here, covering resource management, environmental protection, and international cooperation, may influence other Arctic territories, including northern Canada, Norway's Svalbard archipelago, and Russia's Arctic holdings. Greenland's experience demonstrates that even relatively small populations can have a significant voice when international cooperation, law, and sustainability guide decision-making. Finally, the Greenland story highlights a subtle but growing trend in global politics: the importance of balancing national interests with international norms. For the United States and other major powers, engaging constructively with Greenland and Denmark could provide lessons in negotiation, alliance building, and long-term strategic planning. At the same time, Greenland shows how local communities can leverage attention from major powers to strengthen their governance, scientific research, and global visibility, without compromising autonomy.